Hello student, I am Sonali Kelkar from City International School, and today we are going to do the second part of respiration. Okay, so in the first part, what we saw, let's take a recap. Okay, what we did in the first part, let's take a recap of that. We have done that what is the respiration. Okay, in a very simple term, respiration is a process in which food is oxidized. That means it is broken down into simpler compounds in presence of oxygen. Of course, because I have used the word oxidize, means food is broken down in presence of oxygen, okay, into simpler compounds such as carbon dioxide, water and energy. Okay, so this is a simple process of respiration. Here I want to tell you one thing. Respiration takes place in all the living organisms because energy is very important to carry out all the activities, cellular activities and the other activities in body. Okay, so respiration takes place in all the living organism. Am I clear here? Okay, why we call it a cellular respiration? Why do we call it cellular respiration? Because this process of breaking down of food, especially the glucose, takes place in each and every cell of an organism. It is very important to know this respiration takes place in each and every cell of an organism. Am I clear here? Okay, so it is very important process. Clear? So now how energy is released during respiration? Okay, we all know that we eat food, it get digest, it becomes into a simpler absorbable compound. Okay, the whole process takes place in nutrition. Now this simpler absorbable compound, okay, it is absorbed in the blood, right? Through blood, this absorbable compound is transferred to each and every cell, right? Let's take this compound as glucose. I'm taking mostly glucose. Okay, so this glucose is given to each and every cell, and then the glucose, when broken down, it has a stored energy in it. Why do we want glucose? Because glucose has a stored energy in it, a hidden energy, right, which has to be removed out from it, right? So this energy is nothing but ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Clear? So when this energy is released, okay, this energy is also used to form ADP into ATP. How? Because this energy is used to combine a inorganic phosphate with ADP and ATP is formed. So this ATP is nothing but energy currency, right? So this is how it works. So it is a complete cycle of ADP to ATP, and when this energy use, again it will change into ADP, right? Okay, so this is a cyclic process. Now what is the difference between breathing and respiration? Very important. See, the respiration, we can divide the respiration in in two processes, right? The first one is the breathing, clear, where there is exchange of gas, right? Isn't it? Because how come the oxygen is getting inside our body, and what about that carbon dioxide that is blown out from your body? Okay, so there should be a exchange of gases, okay, which is nothing but breathing. Inhaling and exhaling of gas is called breathing, but respiration is the gas, that is oxygen, which is inhaled by the organism, helps to divide food into simpler compounds, and as a result the energy is released. So this is respiration, right? Now breathing is a physical process. There is no chemical changes or no chemical reaction taking place in breathing. It is just inhaling and exhaling of gases. Okay, the oxygen is getting inside the cell and the carbon dioxide is going out of your body, right? But respiration includes physical as well as the biochemical processes. Okay. Then in breathing, the process of breathing involves lungs of an organism. Okay. So here we can say that it is a cellular process. It involves lungs of an organism. Here the process of respiration involves lungs and mitochondria of the cells. Okay. Organelle of a cell, right? In breathing, though the carbon dioxide and oxygen exchange is taking place from the cell, but still that we can't say that it is a cellular process, right? But here aspiration is a cellular process, which is the whole process taking place inside the cell. Clear? Okay, now respiration inside the cell. Let's see the respiration inside the cell. Okay, I have already discussed this. I'm just taking a recap of what we have discussed. Now, as we know that the respiration takes place basically in two parts. How? First, the glucose divides into pyruvic acid, or you can say pyruvate. And when glucose divides into pyruvic acid, the process is known as glycolysis. This particular process takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, and during this process 2 ATP energy is released. Clear? Now after that, this pyruvic acid will move inside the mitochondria. Okay, inside the mitochondria, the further process, that is breaking down of pyruvic acid into carbon dioxide, water and energy will take place, right? This is known as Krebs cycle. Inside the mitochondria, this is known as Krebs cycle, and during this process 36 ATP of energy is released. So altogether 2 plus 36 is 38 ATP is released in this process, right? And this particular process takes place in the mitochondria, right? This process, because it requires oxygen, we called it a aerobic respiration. Clear? Now what happened? The respiration during the daytime and night time. See, during the daytime, photosynthesis takes place, right? During the daytime, what happened? Photosynthesis takes place. So in the process of photosynthesis, what is happening? Glucose is forming, right? Glucose is forming and oxygen is released in the environment, right? Now when this glucose is formed and oxygen is released in the environment, after that what happened? This glucose will be used or consumed to get energy. So when we break down this glucose and we get energy, in that case what happened? Carbon dioxide gas is released, water is also released and energy is also released, right? This is a respiration process. This is a respiration process. Photosynthesis process taking place in your chloroplast. Okay, photosynthesis process is taking place in chloroplast, where the glucose is formed and oxygen is released in the environment. Whereas in the respiration process, the glucose which is formed will be used to get energy, and when we get energy, what are the byproducts? Carbon dioxide gas is released, water is also released. Now this same carbon dioxide gas will be utilized in photosynthesis process, and what will be released? Oxygen. So that is why during the daytime the oxygen is released by the plant, okay, and the carbon dioxide which is formed in the process of respiration will be reutilized for the photosynthesis. Okay, so the same process is taking place during night also, but because during night there is no photosynthesis process taking place, so carbon dioxide is not utilized for photosynthesis because photosynthesis is not taking place. So then carbon dioxide is released in the environment. So during night time, oxygen is getting inside the plant and carbon dioxide is going outside the plant. So during night time, they respire like us, like human beings. So that is why it is advisable to not to sit under the tree during night time, because they remove carbon dioxide. Okay. Now coming to the process of respiration in plants. This is what we have done in the respiration in plants, but let's see how the gases are exchanged in plants. Okay, so there should be in and out of oxygen and carbon dioxide, isn't it? Okay, so how does this takes place, right? So there are certain tiny pores called stomata openings. Okay, they are under the leaf, through which exchange of gases takes place. During the daytime, carbon dioxide is coming inside and oxygen is going out from the plant. During the night time, oxygen is coming inside and carbon dioxide is going out. So the exchange of gases takes place through the tiny pore, that is stomata under the leaf. Then there are certain pores uh, there are certain pores in the stems. Okay, these are called lenticles. They are present in the woody stem or the barks, okay, through which gaseous exchange take place. Clear? But what about the plants which are herbaceous, herbs, right? We know that example of herbs like mint, coriander, they are totally green. Even the stems are green, right? They are in these plants, they have stomata because the whole plant is green in color, so they have stomata. So through that the gases exchange takes place. Okay, then the oxygen from air diffuses into the stems of herbaceous plant through stomata and reaches all the cells of respiration. Clear? Then in roots also there are certain uh, uh, you know openings in roots. Okay, and we know that soil has certain interspaces, and these spaces are filled with air, right? uh, and these through these spaces in the soil, oxygen exchange takes place in roots, because roots has also openings, right? So this is how there is a exchange of gases takes place in plants. In human beings or in terrestrial animals, we have well developed lungs through which the exchange of gases takes place, and other organs also which supports in the exchange of gases. Whereas in plants, what do we have? Stomatal opening in leaves, then lenticles in woody stems, and in herbaceous plants, stomata, and there are openings in roots also. So these openings help in the exchange of gases. Clear? Now coming to the difference between the respiration and photosynthesis. Now this is a very important part. What is the difference between the respiration and photosynthesis? Now we know that photosynthesis, this process is common to all green plants. Photosynthesis is common in all green plants where there is a chlorophyll pigment, right? So chloroplast, which has thylakoid, in thylakoid chlorophyll pigments which supports the photosynthesis, okay, which are very important part of photosynthesis. We have done photosynthesis, they trap sunlight and then further processes takes place. Whereas respiration is common in all living organism. As I told you, respiration is very common in all living organism, because this is a process in which the energy is released. So without energy we cannot do anything. Okay, neither the cell can do anything. In fact, the cell cannot do anything, right? So in photosynthesis it synthesizes food. Here it oxidizes food. Now what do you mean by synthesize food? Something which is making. Okay, synthesizing means you are manufacturing something, you are producing something, you are making something. So these type of process are called anabolic process. Anabolic processes where something is synthesized, right? Whereas oxidized means uh, we have broken glucose into simpler compounds. So here we are breaking something. So these type of process is known as catabolic process. So respiration is a catabolic process, photosynthesis is anabolic process. These are very, very important points, children. You should understand this and learn it. Then in photosynthesis, it stores energy. In respiration, it releases energy, because this released energy is utilized for different activities, cellular activity. Okay. Then synthesis is an anabolic process we have just discussed, and catabolic process respiration. Then it require cytochrome. It also require cytochrome. Okay, we don't have this. uh, it is an endothermal process, and this is exothermal process. We know when energy is consumed, when heat is consumed, is endothermal process, and in the process where heat is released is exothermic process. When energy is released, so definitely it is in a form of a little bit of heat, so definitely exothermal process. Then it comprises products like sugar, oxygen, water as product, right? It comprises product like hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Yes, we did this. During photosynthesis, radiant energy is converted into potential energy. During respiration, potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. Then it takes place only in the presence of sunlight, and it takes place continuously throughout the life process from birth to end. So there are the first 4 points and the last point, which is very important for you to remember. A few of the points which are in between, they are little complicated, so you can just you just have to know those points, but when it is given in the exam, at least you write 4 to 5 points, right? Now coming to the respiration in animals, right? So in animals, different type of animals has a different way of exchange of gases, right? Let's take aquatic animals. Let's take fish, right? We know that the amount of oxygen which is present in atmosphere is very high as compared to the amount of oxygen which is present in water, because it is present the oxygen gets dissolved in water, so the amount of oxygen in water is less. So what happened for this, the fishes or aquatic animals, they have to gulp water, they have to drink a lot of water. Okay, so they drink water through mouth, and then they pushes to gills, right? In gills, this oxygen which is dissolved in water get exchanged with cell. So oxygen will go inside the cell, and carbon dioxide will be released, and then this is pushed out of the body, right? So the process, so the breathing rate is very high, because very less amount of oxygen is present in water. Okay, whereas in terrestrial animals, amphibians like mammals and birds, exchange of gases takes place through spatial respiratory organs. We all have spatial respiratory organ, that is called lungs, right? So lungs are air-filled sac like structure in the chest cavity, and they are connected to outside by the series of tubes and small openings. Nostril, okay, is a small opening, so they are connected to outside environment, and through this the air gets inside, and there is exchange of gas takes place inside the lungs. Okay, how that we are going to take up in our next slides. Okay, now all the respiratory organs have three common features. Now this is a very important 3 points, children, from the point of view of exam. What are the spatial characteristic of the organ, respiratory organ? They must be having some characteristic, because there is exchange of gas taking place, right? So all the respiratory organs, they have very large surface area, so that they can be in a contact of oxygen, right? Then all the respiratory organs have very thin wall, so the thin wall facilitates in the diffusion of gases, exchange of gases, right? Okay, there should be a semi-permeable membrane, right? The thin wall helps in the diffusion or the exchange of gases. Then there should be a rich supply of blood. Okay, so because we know that oxygen and carbon dioxide which are present in our body, it is transported to the different organs, and from organs to lungs, from lungs to different organs, they are transported through blood, right? So there should be a rich supply of blood. Okay, so let's see the different modes of respiration in different animals, right? um, Here are the name of animals. This is also very important table. In unicellular animals like amoeba, respiration takes place through cell membrane. They have very thin cell membrane, but they are unicellular, so respiration can take place in through cell membrane, and this respiration this process is very sufficient for these animals for their survival, right? Then comes earthworm. Respiration takes place through skin, right? They have thin skin. Through thin skin there will be an exchange of gases, right? Oxygen will be taken in, and carbon dioxide will be taken thrown out of the body. Okay, and then this oxygen gets dissolved with blood, and through blood it goes to different cells. Then coming to aquatic animals like fish and prawns, gills. This we have already discussed. Insects like grasshopper and cockroaches, sparrows and trachea. I think you had this in your junior classes, right? Then comes land animals like human beings and birds, lungs. Now coming to the human respiratory system, right? Now our human respiratory system, when we breathe in air, so air goes through nasal cavity, right? Through nasal cavity we have two openings, nasal cavity, then air goes through pharynx. This is a part which is in your throat, right? And this is a part which is a common opening of food and air, pharynx. Okay, then it comes to larynx. Larynx is nothing but your voice box, right? And then it comes to larynx, and from larynx it goes to trachea. Now here in trachea you will find a C-shaped cartilages, bones, right? Okay, what is the function of this cartilages bone is when the when air goes out from lungs, when air is expelled out from lungs, this particular part should not collapse. Have you ever seen air coming out of balloon? What happened when air comes out of balloon? Okay, when you just fill the balloon. Okay, put your fingers at the opening point, and when you just release it, what happened? It just get collapse. Okay, that shouldn't be there. So to avoid that collapse, it is guarded by C-shaped cartilaginous bone. Now these trachea get divided into two bronchi, right? And then these bronchi are further divide into bronchioles. Clear? And then at the end you will find air sac, we call alveoli, right? Alveoli have rich supply of, here you can see it has rich supply of capillaries, blood capillaries. Blood capillaries are made up of single epithelial cell, which serves as a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, a membrane through which diffusion can be facilitated, right? This is alveolar sac. You see this sac, and this has increased the surface area. Okay, the structure of this sac is such that it has increased the surface area. Clear? Here you can see oxygen is getting inside and carbon dioxide is going out, right? Fine. You can see the pulmonary venule. Venule is the smallest vein, children. Venule is the smallest vein, though I am going to take this topic in our next transportation is the next topic, where we are going to where I'm going to tell you about venules, arterioles and venules. Venule is the smallest vein. Okay, pulmonary venule. Fine. So this is what is alveolar sac, and through this You can see the richly supplied blood vessels over here, clear, and which is very important for the exchange of gases, right? Oxygen will get inside, and then this blood will taken to heart, and from heart it will pumped and given to each and every part of the body. Okay, so this is how we can see here a diaphragm, okay, which divides the thoracic with the lower region. Okay, this is a thoracic part where your chest or lungs are situated, and then your lungs are guarded by ribs. There are rib bones, a cage bone, we say that, uh, which guard your lungs. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, respiratory system in human beings. So in human beings, many organs take part in the process of respirations, and these organs are comprising, this organ together comprise respiratory system. I've already told you about a nose, nasal passage, trachea, bronchi, lungs, diaphragm. Okay, so when the human respiratory system begins from nose. When you breathe in air, what happens? Nasal cavity has a small fine hair-like structure. It also has mucus. So this hair-like structure distills air. That means it removes dust particle. Okay, and even with the mucus, this dust particle get stick. So this helps to clean that air, so that this clean air will go inside the lung. Then I told you about part of the throat between the mouth and the windpipe, that is pharynx. It is a common passage for food and air. Then through there, uh, from the nasal passage, air enters into pharynx and goes into the windpipe. Okay, windpipe is nothing but trachea. Windpipe is a common name of trachea. Okay, now trachea, as I told you, have supported rings of soft bone. It is actually the C-shaped. C, the letter C. Okay, it is a C-shaped ring. Okay, which is cartilages, which help, which does not allow it to collapse when air is going out through lungs. Okay, so then this trachea runs down the neck and then divide into two tubes, which is bronchi. Then bronchi are connected to lungs, and the lungs lies in the chest cavity. I told you thoracic cavity. Okay, and this thoracic cavity is separated from abdominal cavity by muscular partition called diaphragm. Then each bronchus divides into the lungs to form large number of still smaller tubes called bronchioles, and then a pouch-like structure sac at the end known as alveoli. Then wall of alveoli are very thin and are surrounded by a very thin blood capillary. Here you can see this is alveoli, and you can see how they are surrounded by blood capillaries for the exchange of gases. So this is all about where our respiratory system. Now let's see the mechanism. Now, mechanism of respiration. What exactly happens in respiration? Let's start over here. The first number is given for lungs, the second is rib, and the third for diaphragm. What happens when you breathe in? When you breathe in, when you inhale air, what happens? When you inhale air uh, go inside your lungs. When you breathe in, your chest cavity gets expand, your diaphragm get flattened, so the volume of this particular area or gets increased. This particular area get increased, right? As this area get increased, the pressure over here will get decreased, right? So but if you see, the atmospheric pressure is more outside, so air moves from high pressure area to the low pressure area, right? And it rush inside the lungs and fills alveoli. Okay, when it fills alveoli, there will be exchange of gases in alveoli. Oxygen will be given to the blood, and carbon dioxide will be given to the cells, and then these air will expel out through your body. Now what about the oxygen which is present, which is given to blood? It get attached to hemoglobin, and hemoglobin carries this oxygen and take to the different cells. Okay, inside the cell we know that respiration is taking place, breaking down of food is taking place, where carbon dioxide gas is released. So that carbon dioxide gas uh, will enters into the blood capillaries, okay, and oxygen from the hemoglobin will be given to the cell. Okay, this is because there is a difference in the concentration of carbon dioxide and oxygen, right? So here comes your blood. In your blood, oxygen, carbon dioxide get dissolved, right? And this blood will be again taken to lungs, where there will be exchange of gases. Now when it will taken to the lungs, what happened? Concentration of carbon dioxide in blood vessels are more, so carbon dioxide will move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. It will be thrown out from the cell, and oxygen will get inside the cell. Okay, during the time of exhaling, these muscles get relaxed, the rib muscles get relaxed, so there is a lot of pressure developed by the rib muscles, so that air or the carbon dioxide goes out of your body. Okay, it is expelled out from your body. So this is how this is what is the mechanism of respiration. I hope you understand each and everything. Please practice whatever I have done. Okay, revise the things, and thank you so much.